Hi everybody, this is Jeff at Build an Aquarium Workshop, and today we are doing, getting ready to do a partial water change on our 40-gallon rimless cube tank. The tank has now been set up for a month actually, and we're going to do a small partial water change, which is what we recommend. We usually like to do 10 to 20% water changes. This is a 40-gallon cube. It's not filled to the top, and when you minus out the sand and the rocks, it's probably only 30 gallons. So we are going to do probably, let's say 4 to 5 gallon water change. So 10 to 15% water change is all we're going to do today. So we just want to show you, this is how to mix your salt 101. And so down here we have it prepared. We've got our bucket of RODI water, and we have our salt. And our salt here is this brand, Core Life. Okay, sorry, Core Life. And we got our towel, we got our hydrometer, and we've just put in some salt. We poured in some salt, and all we're gonna do is mix it in there really good. Now, when you pour in the salt, pour in a little bit at a time. Don't pour in too much, or you'll be having to put fresh water in here. We're gonna stir it around, and it's usually good to stir it around for a few minutes. And then to test it, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and we'll dip it. This is the type of hydrometer that you have to fill it up with water, and now the needle didn't move at all, and that just means that there's nowhere near enough salt in there to register. Okay, so that just means that we're going to go back to the bag, and we're going to take it and we're going to pour more salt in there, and we're going to go ahead and stir it, and we're going to keep doing that until we see that we have the hydrometer needle moves to about 1.025, maybe 1.026. Okay, so we put more salt in there, and we got it to starting to look a little more cloudy, milky white, which is a good sign. And we stirred it. Just gonna stir it a little bit more. Go ahead and get some of the water in here and see where we're at. You see the needle is moving up to about 1.024, looks like it. Almost 2.5. So almost 2.5. So we're in good shape. We're gonna actually leave it at that. Okay. So I didn't mention that we did use as well was this submersible heater. And I have an extra submersible heater that I always put in, and I heated up the water to about 78 degrees. That's where it's set. And therefore we won't be throwing in too cold of water or too hot of water into the aquarium when you do the partial water change. And the key there too is there is a relationship between salinity and temperature. Okay, so the temperature will change the salinity, so you definitely want to get the temperature set, then go ahead and mix your salt in if you can. Okay, that would be the better way to do it. But before you do your partial, always check the salinity before you do the partial water change. Check the salinity in the aquarium, and then you'll know what the salinity is, and you can adjust accordingly if you need to go ahead and do a little bit more salt or a little bit less. Okay, and that's why smaller partial water changes they're a lot better, because then you have less difference in temperature and water chemistry. We've got a 5-gallon bucket, and it's pretty full of water. And so now we've got our small siphon tube, and we've got a small bucket. This only takes 2 gallons of water, so we're gonna have about 2 of these, maybe 2.5 of these buckets to empty out, and then we'll be able to go ahead and pour the new water in. Okay, so we just turned off the filter. One other thing I don't know if I mentioned, we got here a nice clean towel. We're gonna be drying off our hands. You know, we don't want, if we do get anything wet, we can dry it. We've got our tube, get our bucket close here, and what I do is I take this siphon tube and I coil it up pretty small, and we submerge it in there, and we will kind of shake it around. Most of the air bubbles have come out, which is good. Just shake out those air bubbles as much as possible. All right, we're going to cap one end with our finger. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just release this thumb on this end, and the water is flowing now. We'll go back to the other side for you. Just hold the tube down in there, make sure the tube doesn't flop everywhere, and let water out. And then you can gently kind of go over the bottom of the sand, if you can see that there. Okay, it's okay if we suck up a little sand, it's not going to hurt anything. Okay, and typically too, what I like to do is I like to stir it up, maybe the sand with my hand. I'm going to try to get as much of the sand as possible. Rather than just one area, we're going to go ahead and put the siphon tube around as much of the surface area as possible, and that's just going to help. Now don't worry, if you have a tank that has lots of rock in it, lots of live rock, half the tank you can't get to, that's not a problem. You don't disturb the rocks, don't move them, leave your aquascaping alone. Just get to the areas that you can, okay? Start getting too much sand, we're going to have to smack this tube against the glass and let the sand fall back down. And in the end, if we have to, we can get some of this sand out of the bucket and save it. You'll see when you start dumping the bad water out, if you do it right, you can leave the sand, it kind of sticks to the bottom, and then we can rinse it out gently, and we can put it back in, especially if you suck up too much sand. If it's just a little tiny amount of sand, that's not a big deal. I wouldn't worry about it. It would just toss it. So that's what we're doing. That's the water change, okay? It's going to kind of gently going around the bottom, and like I said, you definitely want to do the bottom of the tank, okay? You don't want to get water from the top of the tank or the middle of the tank. That's the good water. Everything that we want to get is in the bottom of the tank, okay? In the substrate, which is sand. So anything, we're going to stir it around again a little bit more. And I because of the algae, it's a new tank, we've had the algae blooms, I basically take my little rake that I showed you, and I rake the sand, and a lot of times I dig it in deep to get those nitrogen gas bubbles out. But when you do water changes, you'll see that tanks clear up, especially just regular tanks, especially if you're running carbon. Carbon's that water purifier is going to clean the tank. We have a canister, we have carbon, so in this point we're ready to go. I think we mentioned we ordered a skimmer. We'll lose the carbon most of the time once we get the skimmer, which should come in tomorrow. And we'll be putting the skimmer on, and we will probably skim the tank and see if we get anything. Okay, so we're back now, and we are ready to put our water in our tank and finish our water change. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the bucket like this. And what I do is I like to use my hand. Now you could slowly pour it in, but I like to use my hand there as a guard. It's like a splash guard. You can't see it, but that's okay, because you get the idea that as the water goes in, it hits my hand first so that I don't, the water doesn't go down into the sand and whoosh everything around, okay? Filter still off, canister filter that is. And so now we're going to do that so we fill this tank back up. It wasn't all the way full as you remember anyway. And right now we are just covering the canister filter, so we've still got more water to put in there, but I'll try to get you a little closer to the tank so you can see it. That's a water change. So there's the tank, and you can see most of it undisturbed, which is good. We did stir up the sand when we did the partial water change a little bit, not too much, and there was enough sand to save. All I did is rinse it out real quickly and get the dirt out and put the sand back into the water in this corner here. So we're gonna go ahead and finish this water change by pouring more water into it, turning the filter back on, and that is it. We are done. So thanks for watching. Please, if you enjoyed the video, hit a like. If you want to see more in videos like this, as well as others, please subscribe, and have a great day.